We're here. Good morning, everyone. Hope you all had enough coffee to get you started for the day. Really excited to get a chance to chat with these two ladies and learn a little bit more about their experience planning for the NFL draft and really how the Chiefs brand is evolving. So, firstly, just kind of wanted to open it up to the both of you and learn a little bit more about what brought you to the Chiefs. I think both of you came from the brand side. So really hearing about your experience in coming to the Chiefs and what it looks like in connecting customer conversations, maybe more in a fan dynamic way versus a product way.
Hi, everybody. Yes, so I came from the brand side. I was with Red Bull, the energy drink. I think everybody knows Red Bull at this point, for 15 years. So it was definitely a big change for me. What brought me to Kansas City? I really was ready for a change. I wanted to do a little bit more. The brand at Red Bull is so established. Their strategy has not changed. They're very consistent. Which is amazing, but also I really wanted to flex my skills and really see what else I could do. So I actually hit up Lara on LinkedIn. There was a DM, and she responded. And that was, in that moment right there, that was super meaningful for me right off the bat, that she is the CMO of the Kansas City Chiefs. There's so much going on. The season was about to start. And she responded. And I was like, this is amazing. This is probably the kind of person that I want to work for. She said, we're almost done hiring. I'll give you 30 minutes, and if anything, we'll just stay in each other's network. So I had a 30-minute conversation in my parents' house while on vacation. And then I remember you leaned in and you said, would you really do this? Would you really move to Kansas City? I was like, absolutely. So I was on a plane the following week and came out. So it's been amazing. I'm learning so much. I think I've learned more in the last 6 months than probably I did in the last 6 years. So definitely the right move.
I did lean in. I was like, literally, we've interviewed like a lot of people. So I'm like, if you're really gonna do this. And thank you guys for all coming out to GHA Field at Arrowhead. We were a little nervous at 7:30 if everyone was gonna show up. So thank you. Welcome for those that have never been to Kansas City, to our stadium. Our Chiefs fan, work for another team. It's all good. It's nice to see a network of people. So thank you guys for all joining. I'm Lara. I am the CMO and EVP of Marketing. I've been here, it will be 2 years in July, which is crazy. I'm smiling at our head of HR and administration because it just feels we always go back and forth. It's crazy. But yes, I joined from Anheuser. Yeah, she's the best. I joined from Anheuser-Busch. I was there for about 9 years in a variety of different roles, and then had the same opportunity too where someone reached out and said that they were looking for their first CMO and looking to build their marketing organization, which, as Jenny said, was just kind of a dream and a challenge of a lifetime. So I think one of the exciting things for me coming over, and I know we'll talk about a little bit, is this idea of fandom and this idea of creating and growing not just the game on Sunday and Thursday and Monday, but the world of the Chiefs and Chiefs Kingdom and what it means to fans. So it was just a really exciting opportunity that I couldn't pass up, and very happy to be here now 2 years later.
Well, we're happy to have you guys here, and I know everyone is excited for the upcoming season.
Yes.
So we're here for draft day specifically, which has drastically become more equivalent to what the Super Bowl is, right? From fan experience and really a multi-day event. Tell us a little bit about the planning that goes into an event like this and what it means for you as you launch into the season.
Yeah, so, and maybe we can check a little bit on the activation too. So the draft process, for those that don't know, and I think there's some NFL in here, it's really led and run by the league. Cities and clubs can be part of the bidding process to get the draft to come into town. So this process started, I'm looking for someone like 8 years ago or so, when the Sports Commission and obviously the Chiefs worked together to make a proposal to bring the draft to Kansas City. Someone asked me last night, like, So it wasn't planned post Super Bowl, and I was like, no, it definitely was not planned post Super Bowl. This has been years in the making, and so I think obviously we're very lucky that things have fallen the way that they are, or hard work, I guess I should say. But it's such a big deal for Kansas City to host something at this kind of global magnitude, right? There are people watching this all around the world. For us as a brand, it's a huge deal. I don't feel like you can separate Kansas City and the Chiefs. We're unlike other cities in that way. And so we really, from Clark Hunt and Mark Donovan, our president, everyone from kind of day one was saying that road to the draft, we should use it as much as we can to our advantage in terms of making sure that people and fans know who the Chiefs are, know what we stand for, our values, show what we do within the community. And cherry on top, it's after a Super Bowl win. It was just too good to pass up. So we've really tried to lean in, and maybe Jenny can talk a little bit about some of the ways we've done that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're super excited about this. This is actually the first thing, I think it was my first week when you were like, so the draft's coming. Why don't you take this? So it's been an amazing project to work on. I would say the first thing we did is really dive into who our fans are and understanding them. We have a wealth of data available to us, but it was really distilling it down and understanding like who is our fan here and then who is our fan outside of Kansas City. So understanding who was going to come here. Kind of a fun fact, we've got one of the most avid, loyal fan bases locally, which is amazing. However, we also have one of the most displaced fan bases too. So 52% of our fans don't live in Kansas or Missouri, which is kind of amazing. And we knew a lot of them were going to be coming in. We also knew that there would be a lot of fans of other teams coming in. So we wanted to take advantage of, hey, we're probably not going to win, necessarily the Raiders fan that's coming in, who, they're here for a reason. However, what we have realized, if there's one thing that people really respect about this team, it's actually this stadium. So GHA Field at Arrowhead has a long history, a legacy. Our ownership, Lamar Hunt, has an incredible legacy. So we really took advantage of the draft to tell that story. So when you go onto the site, we have 100 by 100 space, which is about 3 to 4 times larger than any other club team that's had a space on the draft site. So we went pretty big. We built a double-decker bus. But really, it should be a full sensory experience for you guys to go out there and kind of feel like you're there on game day. So from walking through a tunnel where you're going to hear Patrick Mahomes hyping you up as you walk inside. We've got the smoke going. You walk in, there's the field. One of the takeaways is actually an air freshener that smells like Chiefs tailgate.
So I put it in my bag for like.
What does that smell like?
It smells like my bag. I put it in there for like 5 seconds, and my whole bag. I woke up and I was like, wow, it's like the smokiness, the car running, the beer being open. It's like all of it combined. It smells good. It's just it's quite pungent and fragrant.
Dynamic.
It was fun testing those days with my
Yeah,
team.
Jackson on our team was like, do you want it to really smell like Arrowhead, or do you really want it to smell like barbecue, like Arrowhead?
Yeah. So.
That's amazing. And I think some people are aware, but probably not fully aware, that the Chiefs obviously have a major U.S. global presence. You touched on the audience. Obviously, like 50% of your audience or fandom being outside of the local market. But another big thing for you is becoming a larger global presence by playing overseas in Germany. And it sounds like there are some exciting announcements on the front that might have just been launched that we can better understand. What does this mean for the Chiefs as you become a global football team?
Yeah. So for those that don't know or maybe know a little bit, the way that the NFL has thought about the globalization of the sport has changed over the last few years when they've implemented or created this international home market program, right, where clubs had the opportunity to raise their hands and bid on a selection of markets that they felt like were mature enough with the sport and the fandom to basically get marketing and commercial rights to it. So it was very much, I think, an amazing move by the NFL in terms of understanding clearly the power of the NFL, but the power of the clubs, right? Because fans are connecting with the actual club and the players. And so we were quite bullish on that from day one. It was, again, one of the first things that I was asked to do when I joined too. Because we have a legacy in it, so we've played and had an international presence for over 30 years, it was always really important to Lamar Hunt, Clark Hunt, and the family now who currently owns the Chiefs. So we really saw the long-term opportunities. So about a year ago, we got the marketing commercial rights in Germany and Mexico. Those were the two markets that we felt made the most sense from a fandom perspective, made the most sense with our brand, made the most sense in terms of different values that we could connect, commercial opportunities, obviously. But it's a little bit like a startup business, right? We don't play a game there every year. We are going to play in Germany this year, which is definitely needed in the 5-year P&L. Now I'm looking at my CFO. You need a game to make the P&L look right over time. But it's definitely a brand and marketing first mentality, right? Because you're having to convince fans who don't get to experience the game why they should be a fan. So that's been a huge focus point. We did just get the rights. We also expanded, and it was announced yesterday or 2 days ago that we've gotten the rights in Austria and Switzerland now. So now we can think about it a little bit more regionally, somewhat like Chiefs and Chiefs Kingdom. So we're really excited. We are going to play in the fall. We don't know who, where, when, so don't ask me. I don't know. There's only 2 markets it can be in, but it will be a really big deal, and we're going to try to find ways of obviously activating the brand and bringing the Chiefs experience as much as we can authentically, right, even in Germany, but also trying to figure out, I'm sure like so many of the brands in here, what is the experience like for fans that can't go, right? For Heather as a season ticket member, we will be losing one of our home games. It will be moving over there. So how do we make sure we create kind of now the reverse model here in Kansas City and beyond to make people feel like they're part of the Germany game, which is another interesting challenge that we have to figure out.
Now, curious, Jennifer, from your perspective, how do you guys connect with the international fans? Like, what's the approach there? Obviously, a part of it is going there, but what does the strategy look like throughout the season to really engage with those international fans?
I'm going to give that one to you.
Oh, you're going to make me
No.
answer?
Wow.
Well, I will say, I think when we created the thinking and plans for Germany and Mexico, a couple of things that we've done a little bit different than probably how we have grown the brand here. One, just in terms of our structure. So we very rarely use outside agencies here at the Kansas City Chiefs. We have an amazing team internally from marketing, performance marketing, our sales team, our partnership team. So a majority of things are done in-house. We knew we had to be able to understand and grow the brand and market the brand. We were going to have to work with some local resources. So one, that's a quite different approach for us, right? We have an agency that does our activations. We have an agency that does our social. We have an agency that supports our sales team. Because we knew that we needed to know how we were going to interact with a fan, that if you think about it, the first sport is soccer, right, in Germany. The second sport is handball, shockingly.
No way.
Yeah, it's growing, I guess. It's big over there. So I had to think about, like, their share of mind is not, they don't think about American football like I'm sure so many of us do here. So we've really had to think through how do we get into their share of mind. Media has been a huge opportunity in play. Content has been a really big part of our role there. Growing our database was a really big deal to get compliant, to allow for us to even collect data about our fans and then be able to now create emails and new programming to give to them and campaigns. So we're using a lot of what we have here and learned here and having to take a little bit of a different approach.
Excellent. So I forgot to introduce myself, but I work for a sponsorship intelligence company, and we measure advertisements during sporting events, and we actually work with the Chiefs. And we work with brands like State Farm to measure how they can optimize throughout the season. So one thing that I'm curious about, which metrics are most important for you guys? I'm sure it depends upon whether you're talking about a fan experience event, whether it's a game. But what do you look at when you're trying to, we can even just focus an event and then also for your overall brand long term?
That I will let you answer.
Sure. I think our aspiration is really to be the world's team. And as I mentioned earlier, we've got this amazing fan base locally, but we also have all of these fans that are living outside of Kansas and Missouri. And if you didn't know this, as part of the rules and regulations with the league, which make a lot of sense, I'm not saying they don't, we can't advertise to these people. So I think the challenge for us is how do we reach and engage these consumers? So for us, a lot of the things we're looking at right now it's around reach and earned media. So if we're going to do something, of course we want to engage the local community, and that's never going to stop. That's always going to be our priority and our fans locally. But how can we ensure that what we're doing is something that is worth media talking about, that's worth influencers talking about, and grabbing, content that is something that media and everybody's going to grab a hold of, and it's going to continue to go from there. So
We've talked a lot around what we can control, right? So the game experience is obviously not necessarily what happens on the field, but the experience that fans have in stadium is something that our organization can control. Merchandise is always a really interesting one that I don't know if, I didn't know coming in. The model is really different team by team, but we work, we have a pro shop here, obviously, which is one organization with Aramark that we work with, but then online, all of our sales are with Fanatics, which is, again, a different relationship, right? And so really also trying to optimize those levers to figure out when someone is, once they are in the stadium, right, becoming a season ticket member, coming to a single game, coming to our activations, that's one part of it. But then also thinking, to Jenny's point, how are we driving other actions that have positive ROI, even though it might be smaller, right? In comparison, we know that fan behavior is just changing, right? Not everyone, unfortunately, lives here. Not everyone is able to come to a game or wants to come to a game for whatever fan reason, right? So trying to think through other ways that our channels can reach them, and that we can bring that incrementality to the business and hope that we kind of generate longer term value over time.
Excellent. The stadium is also hosting the World Cup in 2026, right?
It is.
Yes. So what does that look like for you guys, and how do you help promote some of that experience as your brand?
Yeah, I think that my eyes are a little bit overwhelmed by it because it's like the draft is already so huge. It's kind of overwhelming to think through FIFA and the World Cup coming in the best way possible. So similar process like the draft in the sense that the Sports Commission of Kansas City, the Chiefs, Sporting Kansas City, Casey Current, many other organizations kind of came together to do the bid as part of FIFA, and we were gratefully and thankfully awarded it. I think we're the smallest city, right, of all cities that were awarded the World Cup, which is pretty crazy. And so it'll be a similar approach in the sense of, I think at least on our side, I can only speak for the Chiefs, we'll use it as a way to, again, continue to grow our brand, right? Imagine people all over the world coming into Kansas City and coming here to experience a soccer match. But I think we'll also look at it a little bit different because we'll be partnering with the other sports clubs in the city, the Sports Commission. FIFA obviously is a pretty dominant player, so they have their own set of rules, I'm sure. So it's a huge moment, though, and it's a world stage. I think they were joking, or the comment was, imagine a fan goes, and imagine Japan plays here at the stadium, and a fan goes to the airport to fly to Kansas City, definitely 2 stops from Tokyo. There's no way there's 1 stop. And imagine though that there's probably a World Cup shop right in the Tokyo airport, and in that World Cup shop there'll be something that says, Kansas City 2026. So it's a pretty remarkable thought to imagine. So we selfishly, but I think rightfully so, will do everything we can to use that opportunity to grow.
That's great. And looking ahead, I'm sure you're doing this today as well. Tell us a little bit more about your community impact approach and what you guys do to activate the local fans and grow the community here.
I mean, sure. Yeah, absolutely. We have an amazing team within our marketing organization that we call Community. They've been around for a really long time. They actually activate something amazing every single week. So they're always out working with our legends and really identifying, throughout the community what they should be targeting. And we actually just did some research I'll share on that, which I found super fascinating. We asked our fans, both in market and out of market, do you think that the Chiefs do great things in the community? And locally, it was 9 out of 10 said yes. And out of market, 8 out of 10 said yes. So I was really blown away by that, because obviously we get a ton of local media pickup, so people understand that we're doing things here, but it just continues to grow. But it's a massive part of our strategy to put our fans first and our community first, and that's not changing anytime soon.
Excellent. I think I'm going to move on to rapid fire questions, because I'm not sure how we're doing on time.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got 10 minutes. I can do one more question then. I guess you guys touched on this a little bit, but Kansas City obviously as a sports market is growing, and there are different other sports market cities. So what do you guys do to unite together to really break through as a unique sports market? And I think it obviously ties back to a lot of the events that we touched on.
Yeah, I think hopefully for those that are not from Kansas City, you've felt a lot of the Chiefs and sports general love here. It's definitely a sports town. I think there's probably a million reasons why that is the case, but I do think our feeling is that sports are really about bringing people together. I think there is, as Jenny was mentioning, I'm from Connecticut, I'm not from Kansas City. I did marry someone from Kansas City, so I understand it. There's a real sense of community, not just amongst the fans, right? I'm sure many of our fans that are season ticket members are probably season ticket members from some of the other clubs, Royal Sporting, KC Current. We have a female women's soccer team in Kansas City, which is amazing. And so there's quite a bit of camaraderie amongst the fans. But I also think it's made the clubs also have a level of camaraderie together too, right? In terms of lifting each other up. We consider ourselves a championship city now, right? There's multiple clubs that have won the top of their leagues. So I think that's a big part of what we do. And what we've found is that, again, similar to Germany in the sense of fans are willing to engage with more than one sport. I think why they come to the Chiefs may be different than why they became a Royals fan. Even the background of it, right? To Jenny's comments on data, we've done a ton of fan research lately. And what we have found, at least at the Chiefs is very much the glue for families. Like, it is something that generationally has been passed down, continues to be now passed down to those that have little kids. They may not always come to the game, but it becomes the entire experience, right? The tailgate is a thing all in and of itself. Media around here is so focused on it. So I think we see that with the other clubs. We try to bring that, I think, in the best way to do the best light for Kansas City. And we see that in other cities too, where, Green Bay, for example, doesn't have lots of other teams, I realize, but has a similar aspect in terms of their NFL team.
Excellent.
Yeah, I would say I've never seen fandom like I've seen it in Kansas City. So for those of you that are just in town, I encourage you to take some time and head out. The thing that probably struck me the most is when I dropped my daughter off at daycare, her new daycare. There were balloons everywhere, red. It was Red Friday. And then there was a standee of Patrick Mahomes. She's 2. Of course she knew who it was. Her name is also Kelsey. So, she understood. But it's really incredible. Everywhere you go. I love going to the grocery store. I think we've got Hy-Vee here. It's just Chiefs everywhere. So for me, coming from a brand like Red Bull, who, a lot of people know it, our household penetration was, around 26. This is incredible that these people are all around us and they just want to be a part of this organization in any way that they can. So it's such a gift to have the kind of fandom that we have here.
It is very unique. I was just at World Congress LA with the panel of different leaders from each club, and they were talking about the LA fandom and how it's different, right? So we have to drive to games. There's people leaving early. So you definitely have a unique market and something that's fantastic to continue to activate and capitalize on. And I'm sure Heather would love some additional ways to get involved too, right?
I'm already.
I know. Yeah. All right, we're gonna do rapid fire questions. To kick us off, we're gonna start with just like a little personal flavor. Pizza or pasta?
Pizza. It's an easy choice.
Both. If they're out, they're both out. I'm getting both.
That's not an answer.
Okay. Pasta.
Okay. I guess we worked well together. It will work.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee with a side of Red Bull.
Yeah, of course.
Jenny actually is. I'm very old ABI brand loyal, Bud Light through and through. But you are very like everywhere Jenny goes, there is a Red Bull in her hand. I'm like, that's an impressive. I think she gifts it in the office now too.
15
Which
years.
talk about
Helps with
brand
focus.
advocacy at its like max is even moving clubs. I'm like that's good.
Don't worry, I'm doing the same thing with the Chiefs.
All right, well, next question then. Beer or wine?
Beer.
Wine.
I have to say.
Okay. All right, now real questions. What is the next one thing you want Kansas City Chiefs to be known for?
Our rallying cry is that we want to become the world's team. It feels big and ambitious, and we fully realize we are not that yet, but that is something that we aspire to be. And I think that is what we want to be coming next, with keeping all that we are as an authentic and community-driven brand. I think we'll have felt very successful in a couple of years when hopefully we see that happen.
Excellent. Most interesting data trends you've seen in 2023 for sports data? Or fan data?
Yeah. I think what's really interesting is the U.S. has really become both an importer and exporter of sports. And something I'm sure a lot of you guys, raise your hand, have seen Drive to Survive. I think what's really amazing with that is, content is usually leveraged to intensify fandom. You're just watching more and you're becoming more of a fan. But I think what Drive to Survive taught us all is that it can actually be a catalyst for fandom as well. So a lot of people are now following the sport that weren't prior. So I think that's a really fascinating model for us as we look to expand globally.
That is a huge thing. They also have a new surf show. I don't know if you guys heard about it that's coming out, and obviously full swing.
Yeah.
And then lastly, what impact does winning the Super Bowl have on business?
There isn't an off season. There's never been an off season, as I've now learned. Everything gets intensified in the best way possible. We've been saying in the best way, it's kind of champagne problems when people are tired, right? It is incredibly difficult to win the Super Bowl. Obviously, it's incredibly difficult for the business. There's a lot of Chiefs employees in here. The business, works when you're 2-14, and then when you win the Super Bowl. It doesn't really change the amount of work and effort and passion that our organization puts in their job. So it just intensifies. I think we are probably at the most intense level with the draft now being here too. So heads might explode in the best way, but it changes everything, right? There's people here that probably never thought they were going to come to Kansas City. They were probably not going to come to our stadium. So we are just really grateful and thankful for that.
Yeah, and I would just say that we're part of the conversation for longer, right? Which in itself is such an amazing opportunity. It's also, we had to do a lot of planning for success, which if any of you are superstitious in the room, I would say that's hard for people. I would say it's about 50% of the people would be like, okay, so when we go to Super Bowl, 50% were like, yes, when we go to Super Bowl. The other ones were like, don't even say it. Like, don't say that. But we had to obviously make strategic plans, like we were going to win the entire thing. So.
Do you guys have a lot of superstitious staff then? How do you deal with that?
So what is the stat? It was, we found that 68% of people believe that superstition, rituals don't work. 67% perform them anyway.
Yes.
I
will attest to that.
It was the insight or the that's a fact, but the fact that turned into the insight for our playoffs campaign, because it is such a big part of sports fandom and culture that we really leaned into it.
Mm-hmm. Don't kill that mojo.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Yeah. We can open it up to questions if anyone has any questions.
I've got a question. So all the brand data talk is very interesting, but I'm curious, like, what are the business metrics that you guys are driving for? Maybe this is a better question for you.
So it's a great question. So EBITDA, local EBITDA, is really our number one focus in terms of our business. Obviously, we have different departments that make up that local EBITDA, right? So tickets, our corporate partners, our merchandise sales, what obviously local comes from some layer then from what we get from a national level, right? For our media deals, for some of those big partners. But business-wise, that's what we look for. With the balance, as we've had a really great conversation with growing the brand, right? We need the brand to be growing reach. We need the brand to be healthy. We need like very strong brand health reputation index. And then there's a lot of sub KPIs, but we do the fan experience in our stadium is of critical importance, right? Everything from how long did it take them to park to get into their seat, what was their ticketing experience like to make sure that they had their ticket. We're completely mobile now, so that changes, right? How fans experience the game. You've got 72,000 people in a room yelling the loudest stadium in the world and having a good time. Fan safety is of critical importance. Inclusivity is of a critical importance. So the highest is business and local EBITDA, but there is a lot of KPIs that we look at, quite frankly, on a daily basis. And an impressive work by our team, like on the dashboards that the team looks at every single game and during the game is incredibly impressive on how do we make sure that we are having the best ultimate brand and fan experience. We need to make money though, yes. If that's your question.
Hey folks, I don't know if you can hear me down the cheap seats back here, but Kevin Winters, run a company called Krug, which I'll explain in a minute. Two questions, if that's okay. Well, one's a comment, one's a question. So I'm living in Kansas City now, but not from here originally. But I was back visiting family on the west coast of Ireland earlier this year, and originally from a place called Achill Island. It's about 9 miles by 11, 1,000 people. We don't even speak English out there, and I saw 2 Mahomes jerseys.
Wow! All right, global brand, done.
Yeah.
Congratulations on the brand reach. I mean, I think the question I have really is, so I run a youth online mental health company. We're headquartered in Kansas City, and as your aspiration to become the world's team, and we talk about how you measure business impact, how do you measure community impact?
Well, first of all, thank you for that story. I've never heard of your company, which is actually sad for me because it sounds like it's an amazing platform that you built. So for community, I think at the end of the day, we really do look on the impact that we are making in terms of our main focus for our community efforts is around youth, education, children, health and wellness. And so we look at, and our head of community is actually in the room somewhere. There he is, in front of you. So we look at how many kids, right, in that specific case that we've impacted. So whether that's through activations on food drives, right, with harvesters, whether that's through, obviously, our Red Friday program is built in partnership with McDonald's and the Ronald McDonald's House. So we sell the flags every Red Friday, and that money goes back to helping kids in Ronald McDonald's House. And the numbers have been impressive in terms of money donated, but more importantly, kids impacted because of that. So those are really the most important that we look at. But then, to Jenny's point, we want to give back, but we also want to make sure that others know that there's an opportunity for them to give back as well. So the media obviously is somewhat for the Chiefs, but genuinely it's to make sure that other people in the community and beyond also feel like there's opportunities for them to give back to whatever organization is relevant for them.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone. Have a great day.